All right, the legislature part two. We're going to continue with chapter 10. We'll talk about, focus more on just the Senate instead of the House of Representatives. So the Senate is the more prestigious, means like the more important, or like the wiser, the smarter. It's like the big boys. So the Senate, how many people are in there? 100. That number is set. There's two from every state, regardless of the size of the state. So this allows for equal representation between all states. So for instance, Wyoming, with about 500,000 people, has 2 Senate members. California, with 33 million people, has about 2 Senate members. Are you qualified? What are the qualifications to be a senator? You have to be 30 years old. You have to be a citizen for 9 years. And you have to live in the state in which you're elected. How many times can you be reelected? You can be reelected an unlimited number of times. Robert Byrd has the current record at being 9 terms in office. Senators can be expelled from the Senate by a 2/3 majority vote if they committed a crime. In the last 200 years, only 15 members have been expelled. A couple senators in the United States are independents, Green Party members. Senators are represented. Senators represent the entire state, which means they're elected at large, which means everybody in the state votes on whether they become a senator or not. So this isn't like the House of Representatives. They don't vote according to a district. Up until 1913, senators were elected by state legislatures, but that changed with the 17th Amendment. It required senators to be elected by a popular vote, which means by the people. Popular vote is just like everybody gets together and votes. Now, the Senate is a continuous body. This is something you should pay attention to. A continuous body means that only a third of the senators are up for re-election every 2 years. That means there's always senators who have been doing it 2 to 4 years. Okay? You don't get like every 6 years we don't get an entire new Senate voted in. We get 1/3 of the Senate gets voted in. If that makes sense. If it doesn't, ask me. I'll explain it more. So not all the senators are up for re-election at the same time. That's the big point. This makes things a little bit smoother with like day-to-day politics, public opinion, interest groups, because people are always working on things in the Senate. And so if we replaced all the senators at the same time, it would cause problems with like day-to-day politics, issues with the budget, public opinion, things like that. So now, if you combine the House of Representatives and the Senate, you have 535 members in the federal Congress, okay? In the United States Congress. On average, they're married, educated, white dudes in their 50s. There are 86 females. There are 44 African Americans, 29 Hispanics, 7 Asians, 2 Native Americans. Religion is mostly Protestant. There's some Catholic. Almost all of them are Christian. All right, 1 Muslim, 7% Jewish. The majority have to be very familiar with laws, and so they are lawyers by trade. A lot of People in Congress have also held other political positions, such as governors and mayors, such stuff like that. So congressmen have to wear many hats. It means they have a bunch of different jobs. One, they're in the legislature that makes laws. Two, they also have they're members of different committees where they screen bills or oversee the executive branch's enforcement of laws. They have a check on the enforcement of laws on the executive branch. They also have to represent voters back home and do things that citizens want them to do, represent them in a correct way. And then finally, they have to be a politician. They have to keep in touch with their party leaders and what their leaders say the platform is. So each congressman are supposed to vote. They're supposed to vote on hundreds of bills each year. Not all congressmen show up to votes. There are four ways congressmen can vote. As a trustee, and trustees, regardless of what people back home believe, they always vote on what they think is best. Okay? So if I go in and I'm a senator and I vote on what I think is best for the country, then I'm considered a trustee. If I'm a delegate, then I always vote the way folks back home would want me to. So if I'm a senator and I believe abortion should be legal, but people back home believe, the people I represent believe that abortion should be illegal, then I always vote for abortion to be illegal. That's a delegate. Partisan, if I vote along partisan lines, that means I vote with my political party. I always follow my political party and their viewpoints. If I'm Politico, then I combine all three of those. If I'm Politico, then I combine all three of those. So the benefits in being in Congress, senators and representatives get a base pay. That means the lowest they get paid is $165,000 a year. Majority and minority leaders get about 180. The Speaker of the House gets 200, a little over 200,000. And there are only two limits on congressional pay. The presidential veto, president saying, hey, you guys are paying yourself too much, or voters being pissed off that Congress is paying themselves too much. Now, Congress, if you're in Congress, you get together with 535 other people and you vote on how much you get paid, which is kind of nice. But like I said, if voters get mad, they can vote you out of office, or if the president thinks it's unfair, then he can veto a law. Other than getting a pretty decent paycheck, there's some other benefits to working in politics. So you have non-monetary benefits, like you get a paid vacation, you get tax deductions, your office is paid for, and you get travel expenses, life insurance, health insurance. You have a retirement plan. You have free postage and a food allowance. So it's not too bad to be a senator.